Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi.
Today we are going to determine how you come up with the prices on your menu. Before we start, I want to tell you a quick story. About 10 years ago, I had a competitor open up about a mile away from my store. Went in to introduce myself and noticed that the prices were literally 40% less than what we were charging. I was very concerned. I thought it would really negatively affect the business. When I saw her at a chamber event, I pulled her aside and I asked her, hey, what method did you use to cost out your menu? Her face went blank and I realized she had never cost out the menu. And as a result, approximately 3 years later, they were closed for business. But today, we are going to learn, when you leave here today, you're going to understand the importance of costing out your menu. You're going to also understand the difference between the menu cost as well as food cost or food cost percentage. You're going to also simplistically learn how to cost out your food menu, your menu items. And then when you will also discuss when you use competitive pricing and when you use psychological pricing when pricing out your menu items. So before I go any further, let me ask, why is it important to cost out your menu items?
Well, like anything in business, you want to know what things cost so you can charge the right price to become profitable.
Right,
See
exactly.
if it's even a viable business idea.
Yeah. Profitability. That's why we cost out our menu. So let's discuss menu cost or cost of item. That is the raw cost that plate costs that individual restaurant. So it's basically the cost to produce that menu item. So let's take an example of a menu for, it looks like an ice cream establishment, shocking. We're gonna take specifically a look at the float at $5.50. You're gonna see one scoop, we broke down that float, one scoop of ice cream, 29 cents, the cost of a root beer. Remember, the cup and the lid, we're assuming this one here is a takeout establishment, as well as the straw. So now we're looking at the raw cost of that menu item is $1.40. That's how much it costs in order to produce that item. And this is done for every item on a menu. But now let's take it a step further, and let's take a look at food cost or food cost percentage. This is the number that determines profitability. So food cost percentage ranges between 25% and 35%. Morton's Steakhouse is probably 38 or 40%, where McDonald's is probably 20-23%. So you can kind of see the difference. The higher the cost percentage, the higher the food cost. But now let me bring that a little bit further. We're going to use the same example. The same example here of the ice cream float. So how you can figure this food cost profitability? So we have the cost of the item divided by the menu price, and that food cost is 0.25, and of course as a percentage would be 25%. So that's great. We actually had the cost of the menu item already. But let's for a second say we want to start a new restaurant. And we want to figure out how much we need to charge. So we've decided that we want to sell a grilled cheese sandwich. We have the bread, the cheese, we want chips to come with it, the napkin and the plate. Again, we're assuming that it's a takeout establishment, and plus the drink. So the total cost to deliver that meal is $1.55. So now you have to plug in and kind of play with these numbers in order to get to the food cost percentage that you need to get to, okay? So you'll add in, for instance here, they discovered that $5.50 was the magic number to be at a food cost percentage of 28. So we do this for all your menu items, and you have a listing of all your menu items, and you have a good understanding of how much it costs, the raw cost of the item, plus the food cost percentage, and how much you want to sell it for. But we can't stop there. And the reason why is because we have to take a look at competitor pricing. let's say for an instance, we have that grilled cheese sandwich dinner or lunch, and we go to a competitor's and they sell it for $3.75. So you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out where you can save money in producing that item. Is it that you buy, is it the cheese, is it the bread? Do you not include the drink with it? So how are you going to be more in line with your competitors? So to keep you competitive. But on the flip side of that, let's say you go out to your competitors and they're charging $7 for the same thing. Same thing, $7. Now you realize that the market will bear more and you increase your price accordingly. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses, and you'll see this a lot, they'll actually use competitor pricing in order to price their own menu instead of figuring out what it should be. One other thing you need to take into consideration is what does sound better, $10 or $9.99?
$9.99.
$9.99. It's like 99 cents or $1. It's psychological. It's proven that it's a proven theory that one price looks better to a customer. So when you have all your prices and you come to a price of $4.05, it may benefit you to charge $3.95 for that item. It's especially effective when raising prices. If you have to raise an item 50 cents, you charge $3.50 for it. If you raise it to $4, oh, you raised it $1. But if you raise it to $3.95, everything's okay. So that's another aspect of pricing your menu you really want to take a look at. And then finally, recap of what we learned today. We learned that effective menu pricing leads to profitability, and profitability is what we want. We want to be profitable. Oops. We understand the difference between menu cost, which is the raw cost of the item, how much it costs to manufacture that plate, and the food cost percentage, which is basically your profitability. Remember, your food cost percentage helps you pay for your labor, your utilities, your rent. We understood how to configure both the menu cost and the food cost percentage. We went over when and how to use competitor pricing and why it's important to take a look at. And finally, we discussed the importance of understanding psychological pricing and how we price accordingly. So does anybody have any questions?
That's good. Sometimes you can look at competitors, but you also have to look at other things too. I mean, if somebody's charging $7 for a grilled cheese sandwich, yeah, maybe the market can bear that, but maybe they're using, fresh baked bread, or they're using, Gruyere cheese from Switzerland or something. So maybe the quality's different and it's worth the price.
Right. There's a lot of, absolutely, there are a lot of aspects to consider when pricing, but to be aware of the different avenues that we price.
Yep.
It's super important to profitability. All right?
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.